I think we should probably actually start a show.
That's true. We've been recording for 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah. I don't know. That like the only way really thought I had to start it was just the fairly bland
Well,
kind of way. So
I think I have some updates that like relatively new updates, I guess. I mean, well, you know about them because I talked to you about them on Saturday.
yeah. Do we want to?
I like when we.
Do we want to come up with something funny or just kind of go into it?
Well, I like when we start the show and be like, "Is this a show? Should we start the show now? Maybe this is the show."
Yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that too.
Or
I'll
we
pick
could
a spot like a couple of sentences back, and it'll include all the wishy-washiness as well.
we could also tell a joke.
I'm just not really one for telling jokes more often than not.
Do you know any good jokes?
But via my good friend Google, I can come up with plenty.
When you Google for good jokes, it's sometimes very difficult to find good jokes.
That's fair.
Do you know the term lexophile?
I do not.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I don't actually know what it is that they love. But I saw I don't, this might have been like an email a long time ago, but it's things like a will is a dead giveaway, or a calendar's days are numbered. A backward poet writes in verse, those kind of things. A chicken crossing the road is poultry in motion. Like clever, funny things.
Gotcha. All right, so I certainly follow.
Anyway, those aren't really jokes. They're just funny things that you have to say sometimes. A boiled egg is hard to beat. I mean, they're clever.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's still nothing else really to follow that with because I don't have one off the top of my head.
Oh, I guess we were going to talk about projects, right?
Yeah, I mean, I figured one of the nice things to do would be to just catch everybody up. We haven't really talked about them in a bit. I know I've got some questions.
Yeah, well, I have some answers.
Should we start with you then, or should we kind of tease that out further? And
I think we should flip a coin.
Okay, we can flip a coin. Do you have one handy?
No, I was going to see if I could find an app.
Oh.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Okay. So I was just looking. The last post I have for Project Vigor is the 29th of October last year. So no post in November, no post in December. Partly because November was busy and I got COVID towards the end. And December was stupid busy. So.
Yeah, and I think I might have missed one in there somewhere too, because I thought I remembered seeing a notification, but I don't remember seeing the post.
I don't know the last post. It's probably the best post I did of on Project Vigor ever.
So I'm gonna have to go look and see if I saw it then, aren't I?
Yeah.
Real time investigation.
Yeah. This is called real time follow up. Real time FU. It's just because it's like, okay, here that's funny, but the audio is the video with no audio, not that funny. The audio is really what makes it.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that one. I do remember seeing the one before that though.
Did you hear it with the audio?
Not yet. Hold
on. I'll send you the soundbite when I upload my so you can put it in there. Just I guess I should give a description and then you can add the sound because it's so short.
Sure.
But my friend was going to climb. We're in the climbing gym. He was going to climb I think he was doing a lead climb, and yeah, he was doing a lead climb. And as he was going up, I went around and I smacked his ass as hard as I could, just for luck. And it just sound just echoed.
Yeah, it was quite audible.
Yeah.
So with Project Vigor,
yeah,
not since we've started the show, I suppose. Um, I'll keep coming, but to that a little bit too, just to keep everybody guessing. Are you predominantly thinking you're going to stay in the gym over the course of the year? Are you going to try to get back out on the boulders? What's your thought on kind of where you're going to take it?
Sadly, I probably won't be able to boulder for a long time because of my finger injury. Because it requires more crimpy moves, and so
makes sense.
I don't want to re-injure it. It's not. I can't. It's. I don't know that it'll ever go back to being the way that it was before, but I can climb rope routes in the gym with no issue at all.
Well, that's positive.
I haven't had. Yeah. It's really. I even have climbed a few times with the finger untaped, and I had no issue whatsoever. I don't want to push my luck, so I keep taping it, but I kind of get to where it's like, I kind of want to try bouldering, but like I might try a bouldering route in the gym every once in a while just to see. But the last time I tried, it was, it did not feel like it was a good idea.
And that was in the gym?
In the gym, yeah.
So I have follow-up questions to that, because I haven't obviously been out climbing since the ankle injury either.
Yeah.
And I continue to see improvement. Like there's still some soreness in different places depending on different things. I'm finding my current routine seeming to improve things more than where it kind of stagnated last year. So that's a positive too. And we can get into that more as well. But what I thought I might do is at least see about doing like the rope class and see what that would open up as far as occasionally doing some day passes. Because I doubt I'll be out there enough to justify a membership, especially already paying another institution and gym membership fees for the jiu-jitsu stuff. And so I don't necessarily want to pay, multiple gyms, different sets of fees. But my question was kind of related to what is it that the belaying class actually offers? Like I know the way they break it down, there are certain restrictions until you've done whatever the class is. And I don't remember all of those subtleties or details.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward. You can climb anything you want in the gym. As obviously the auto belays, you can just go there and climb by yourself. If you've got someone to belay for you, you can climb any route in the gym that is a top rope route. The top rope class, they teach you how to safely top rope belay any climber. So once you take that class, the next time you go to the gym, you take the test. It's a practical test, and then you get pass that test, and you're certified to top rope anyone in the gym, or belay on a top rope for anyone in the gym.
And so the difference really is just that there are a handful of routes that do not have auto belays that are top rope, or do they all have auto belays and it's just a matter of your choice on?
Most of the routes in the gym are top rope. There's maybe it's less than half a dozen auto belays. So without having someone to belay for you, it's a very limited experience at the gym.
That's what I was trying to remember.
I take that. Let me rephrase that. There are several. So I say there's less than half a dozen routes, but that's not exactly fair. There's less than half a dozen setups with an auto belay, but each auto belay setup, there's on their short wall. I think two of the auto belay setups have one of them has 4 different routes in that area. So it's various grades all on the same section of wall that you would use for that auto belay. So I think there's a 5, 6 5'8", like 5'8", 5'10", 5'12", that kind of thing. So there's 4 routes in this one section where you could clip into the autoblade and do 4 different routes. There's another, the speed wall has 2 autoblades, and each one of those usually has at least 2 routes, sometimes 3 routes. So there's a fair amount of climbing. It's just that you're limited to like 4 to 5 sections of the wall.
Right, and that's more or less what I imagined when you were describing it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I realized I wasn't being totally accurate about it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Good for clarification when we're talking about, audience potentially hearing.
Yes.
So are you planning to, or maybe you have been, other than the past 2 months, consistently going on a weekly basis, every other week? What's the...
Let's see.
Or and not so much what have you been doing, but what's kind of your thought for how you're approaching the year? Or have you even thought about how you're going to approach the year yet? We're pretty early in as we record.
Yeah, I definitely want to go enough to make the membership worth it. I knew I had my kids on the membership, and they just slowed down their climbing because, we climbed together one of the days last week between Christmas and New Year's, and they had a good time. But it was kind of a light day for us. I don't, it's because it was just us. It was in the middle of the day. But they did some climbs, and it's been light. And then the time before, like the couple of times before that, they came, but they didn't climb at all. They wanted to either, like, they had read a book or were playing a game on their Switch or something like that. Various things. Or they just weren't interested in climbing, and I was there to climb. So I took them off of my membership because I don't want to pay for them if it wasn't right now the value's not there, and so I could just pay for them individually.
The day passes aren't very expensive, if I remember correctly.
No, they're not bad. And
I mean, if you go a couple of times a month, then yeah, I would say it adds up enough to maybe get close to that threshold.
Yeah. Well, there was a point in time where I personally was going almost 3 times a week for a few months. And then when I injured myself, I was out for a long time. I tried to, I went to the weight room a few times just to, make use of that. But yeah, I was out for a few months. So now I think I can get back into it. And also my living situation is such that I think will actually make it easier for me to go. Because, when I was split, like, I'm at this house, my partner's over at that house, her house, and the gym is over there. And it's like, if I climbed until 10, the gym closes at 10 p.m. and drive to my partner's house to spend time with her, it's kind of like, well, what's the point? She'd be like, kind of like, what's the point of you coming over? Because we're about to go to bed, and then you're going to have to go back to your house in the morning to do work, So I think the new living arrangement might make that getting to the gym more often better and more feasible. So time will tell.
Are you thinking you're going to do kind of continue with the same format? Have you found that it's working well for what you want to do, or are you looking to change that up any, or is it still kind of early in the project to tell?
There's definitely some changes that need to be made. So something that's made a huge impact in just a few days is a friend of the show, Jesse Hart, loaned a Series 4 Apple Watch to me. And I would put it on, and then I'm like, I can't wear this. Because I'm just so I'm so unused to wearing a watch. I just can't wear this. And I would take it off. And I think a lot of it had to do with sitting at a desk and trying to wear it while doing work on my computer. And last week, since I was on vacation, I would put it on, and I found myself leaving it on longer. And I found myself like getting interested in meeting certain goals. Like, it was easy, it's easy to start with a stand goal and hit that a few times. And then it got to be, well, I want to know, I'd mess around with the ECG, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. I should, it made me think, I should check my blood pressure. And so I would check, I was like, I wonder if there is a companion, blood pressure cuff that would work with the Apple Watch. I'm like, that would be cool. Because like I at one point had a cuff, but I never used it because I'm like, whatever. I'm taking blood pressure medication. The last time I was with my doctor, checked it, everything looked good. So I found myself today at the Publix, went specifically to use the Higgy to check my blood pressure, just to see if I'm on some new blood pressure medication to see if it's working. And so now I'm just like, I'm delightfully falling into the gamification of health, or my own personal health, as a result of wearing the watch. And so now I'm in a place where it's like, well, the other part of this is like, the other motivation here is like, I really think the Apple Watch Ultra is a cool watch. Just in general, that's a cool watch. And I didn't buy the first generation because I couldn't, at the time I was like, I felt like there's no justification for me wearing it. I don't want to buy this and then not wear it. So I've told myself that if I consistently get to a place where I'm wearing this Apple Watch that you loaned me, by the time the second generation comes out, I'll probably buy the second generation watch.
So with the climbing pieces, I think I mentioned it before, but just to reiterate it, Pinnacle is an app that I picked up that has a watch app where you can tap a button to start a climb, and it'll record some metrics during that climb, and then you can tap a button to end or pause, or basically once you're done with your climb, you tell it, hey, I finished my climb.
Yeah, so the last time I was in the gym, I did climb with it just to see how it was, and it was not intrusive.
I started playing with Pinnacle back when we were at Moss Rock, before my ankle issue, and I liked what little bit of kind of feedback I got from that. And I haven't even had a chance to really explore it since that was very short-lived. But I've become a bit of a data junkie when it comes to what I can measure and track with all my different endeavors.
Is it Pinnacle 365?
I think it was just called Pinnacle. I will look real quick.
There's Pinnacle Climb Log. That might be it.
Yes. It is a paid app.
I'm going to have to check this out.
But I like it. I'm more than happy to tag along at some point and let you see it before you decide to invest in it.
I'll check it. I saved it there so I could check it out at some point. So that's kind of where I'm starting. I went and the last time I was at my old house, I made sure to grab my yoga mat because now I have a different. I'm living in a different space, and it's far more conducive to rolling out a yoga mat and trying a yoga class on Apple Fitness, and I want to do that soon. I know that they now don't require the watch, but let's be honest, that's one of the things. And then
the experience with the watch is so much better.
Right. So I'm pretty excited to do that. The next thing is I want to talk to my doctor about something called it's called Ozempic.
This doesn't ring a bell. What is it?
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect it to ring a bell. It's I think it's got close to a decade's worth of study, but it's a pharmaceutical drug that was developed to help people with diabetes to control and lower their blood sugar levels. And one of the side effects of that is weight loss. It curbs the appetite.
Okay, so is this, not to draw a direct correlation, but I've seen a couple of articles talking about there being an uptick in looking at medication that was originally designed for diabetes because of its weight loss benefits. Is this in that same general ballpark?
Yes. Yeah. I think it is like there's a class, it's in a class of drugs. I want it in my head. I think it's like a G1 something. I remember one of the times that I looked it up, it talked about the class of drugs that it's in, or the class of drugs, and I think it had something to do with what it's affecting. But yeah, it was made to control blood sugar levels, and lower blood sugar levels, and as a result, people lose weight. It's a once a week injection, and my friend who's a pharmacist has been administering it through 2022 at the VA, and just like the anecdotal results that he's been seeing. I mean, well, the actual lab results and proper scientific method studies are showing this is an excellent weight loss drug. His anecdotal evidence is incredibly positive. So I thought about talking to my doctor about that, just because a lot of the people who have lost weight from this have also been able to go off certain medications. And so I'm just kind of interested to see if I could get it and see how it affects me, because I don't know, I've been having a hard time.
I can understand that. I know I've mentioned it on the show, but just for clarification purposes, I was on blood pressure medicine prior to 2020. And once I was able to reduce weight by a fairly significant margin, that was when I saw my blood pressure go back down into an area where my physician said, let's try going off of it. And so far I've been able to maintain that. And I know that like that initial change is a huge hurdle. For me, I just happened to luck up on a combination of things that worked, is the way I kind of look at it. But it's like, that's the kicker, right? Like that's the big piece that everyone struggles with. And you have to eventually find the right combination of things to make that kind of change. And that's just one example. I know cholesterol medication can be the same way, and there are 2 or 3 other maintenance medications that have a correlation to weight as well.
So anecdotally, what I've been told is that the folks who have been given this, who have been, this drug has been administered to, get to a place where the idea of like finishing, let's say finishing a Big Mac is daunting. Like they just can't, like you just have, the signals that tell you you're full are just there, and so he's my friend was saying that he's seeing really good results for people who do nothing, like who live sedentary lives. So these are people who aren't even, they're losing weight. They're going off of their blood pressure medications because they no longer need them. They are not in a pre-diabetic state any longer, and they're just getting this drug, and their bodies are healing, in a way. And so I thought that was an interesting thing to start talking to my doctor about. He said the people who are exercising, their results are even more dramatic and faster. So, but what's interesting is that the way they ramp you up, because I think the maximum dosage is 2 milligrams a week, but you don't start there. You start with like 0.5 milligram for, I don't know if it's a few weeks but you step up from starting at 0.5 milligram to eventually a 2 milligram dosage. And then people are coming off of it as well and able to maintain the weight loss because they've just gotten to a place where like this is how their body is working. So all of that's very interesting. But even if you had to take it for the rest of your life to maintain something like that, it's not, that's better. I feel like that would be better than taking blood pressure medication.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I don't know if this is true across the board, but I know looking at like the potential side effects and warnings about long-term use on a lot of the different blood pressure medications, like it's a concerning area of what you're subjecting your body to long-term.
Well, that and the blood pressure medication only treats one symptom.
Right.
Like it's a really important one, but it only treats one symptom. Where this is, it's, I don't want to say, it's closer to the root of something that it addresses something that will solve multiple issues, including like cholesterol and just the known, not immune, but the what is it? Not trauma response. What is it when you get injured? There's a response that your body has.
Generally speaking, like I've heard so many different terms interchanged.
Like inflammation.
Yeah,
and
stress response is often used depending on the nature of the injury. Immune response, of course, would be if it were like viral, bacterial.
it is the inflammatory response.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess it's a part of the immune response. It's a specific immune response, but having more than healthy body fat results in an inflammatory response, and so all of these things that are seen during the inflammatory response are seen in adipose tissue, and it's just it's like your body is constantly in this living in this inflammatory response, and it's really unhealthy. So the idea that I have like a fat belly, and that fat tissue is sitting there inactive was the dogma for a long, long time. So maybe 20 years ago, it changed, and there were a lot of, like, I remember having a doctor in the mid to late 2000s telling me about it's not just sitting there. It's not, just weighing you down. It's actively working against your body, and there's this constant inflammatory response. And so, that's something that's addressed. Blood sugars are addressed. So it's a very interesting thing, and I just want to try it and see how it does. Like, whether it's like a long-term thing or a short-term thing to get to a certain goal. So, and that isn't to say that I'm not going to try try to do it without it. Like the idea of like modifying my diet and so forth.
I think it's actually an interesting introduction to what I'm hoping to launch as a result of my past couple of years of experiences. And obviously we've talked about it in certain limited subsets. But like one of the things that I've recognized over the past year and a half or so is that I did a lot of trial and error and playing around with things to reach a fairly positive point with regard to my own personal health and fitness that might be beneficial to other people to hear. Maybe not. I certainly don't claim to be an expert, but I feel like the path I chose provided a number of lessons that I want to share. And it's because I didn't focus completely on this idea of becoming fit or having a specific health-related goal. It was that I wanted to take each day and be a slightly better version of me. And that meant predominantly physical with regard to these endeavors, but it wasn't completely isolated to a physical transformation. And I think that story is interesting and is an ongoing thing, because as I've increased my fitness and made different changes from a health perspective, I've increased the challenges and other things that I've decided to take upon, myself for hobbies and different things that are just kind of fun. And I can have a lot of interesting and creative moments with regard to video production with these particular interests. And that kind of excites me from just the creative professional kind of mindset. And so my goal is that by no later than summer, actually have the channel launched and just kind of see where it goes. And that's going to be a tough sell, but I've started at least filming some B-roll here and there for filler, and I've started trying to kind of put together what I think the teaser introduction narration should be. And I already have, an outline of kind of shows in general or episodes in general that I want to do. I'm just not entirely sure how well I'm going to execute. And so that's kind of the big question mark for me. But I think overall, worst case scenario, I have some trial and error experience to provide. And a lot of that is around what I got right and what I got wrong in my year-ish journey to both dropping weight and being able to do more than just walk for, fitness, for exercise. And over 40, that's a pretty big accomplishment,
It is.
And it's something that I think far too often most of us overthink of it, or most of us at least latch onto a goal that is a good goal, but it's not the first step. It's not what we should be looking at starting out. And we'll see. I don't know that I will do anything revolutionary or overly interesting or gain any kind of traction, but I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing it and have a lot of fun creating some videos for it, and we're just going to see where it goes.
So I have a few questions, a few thoughts.
Absolutely. Bring them on.
And this will kind of put you on the spot, but would you have what is the thing that you wish you had known 2 years ago? Or at this point, I guess it's been almost 3 years.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. The biggest thing...
Yeah, the one biggest thing that you wish you knew going into it.
I don't even know if I would say it's the biggest thing that I wish I had known. I would say it was the biggest thing that I wish I had wrapped my head around. Mm-hmm. Is how many times you'll feel like there's either no progress or that you're regressing, and it just takes time. I can't tell you how many days I didn't have the best concept of how to measure progress beyond weight or an energy level or something kind of abstract. And so there could be a stretch of a week or 2 weeks where I would feel like it was just a constant regression. Not only had I lost any gains that I had made, but I was actively getting worse. The only reason I made it to the other side of that viewpoint was because when I started out, I gave myself a time frame, and that time frame was the rest of the year. So this would have been starting in 2020, so until December 31st at midnight 2020, I was going to commit to whatever I decided to do, which was to hit a certain general activity level for the day, and measuring that by way of active calories burned according to the Apple Watch. That way I would have at least a fairly set day-to-day comparison. And if it wasn't for me being so stubborn that I would refuse to not honor the commitment I made to myself, I don't know how many times I would have given up during the first 3 months. But then after that, once I hit that next change, that next transition, everything was paid off. Like oh yes, I just had to get there. And then, sure, plenty of other times there have been plateaus or points where it doesn't feel like I'm making progress, but because of that initial breakthrough, I'm willing to see it through and continue and maybe adapt or tweak something until I see that next little breakthrough. And like I'm currently doing that yet again. You know, I've been extremely consistent with my activity levels. The one thing that I've continued to struggle with is that I like food. Mm-hmm. And I kind of refuse to not allow myself to consume what I want to consume. Life's too short for living a constricted life. Like if we're talking about short term to meet goals, that's one thing. But I've moved past that phase where I restricted what I would consume and the types of things I would consume and everything else. Like I'm in that phase now where I'm adapting other things to allow me to continue to consume whatever I want to consume. And I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think, to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. That's the only way to make that work. Right. And there's safe ways and a lot of harmful ways of doing it. But the goal is once you get to where you want to be, you no longer need to maintain that calorie deficit. That doesn't mean you start eating as many calories as you did before, because that's how you end up back where you were, end up back in the place where you were. But yeah. Right.
And what I'm doing now is over the past 3-ish months, I've seen a very slow but steady increase in weight and body fat percentage. And that's important because I don't measure based on weight alone, because weight is not a good measurement of where you are from a fitness perspective. But because it and body fat percentage has increased, I've tried to kind of look at what it is that is changing and what it is that I'm not targeting appropriately.
How are you measuring?
Clothing-wise, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how are you measuring body fat percentage?
So I have 2 different methods. I have a scale that gives a rough percentage I just use it consistently day to day so that I have that trend line. And if it continues from a trend perspective to be higher than what it was a couple of weeks prior, then I tend to accept that there is an increase in body fat. But outside of that, I have a device that, from what I can tell, the company is no longer in existence, and so it's no longer available. But it's called a Sculpt, SKULPT. Mm-hmm. And I've used it because what it does is it theoretically targetedly measures the different body or muscle groups within the body. So you scan like left shoulder, left bicep, right bicep, left forearm, right forearm, etc. throughout the body. And you get a better representation of muscle quality and body fat percentage for that more targeted area. Mm-hmm. That has been my predominant kind of guiding set of measurements to figure out what is changing and what's not. So like from 2+ years ago to today, my arms and legs have sub 10% body fat as measured by that device. But over the past 6 to 8 months, my core and back have been increasing instead of decreasing, which is interesting because the core muscles, like I have more strength in my core than I did before. And so trying to think about it from a fairly, overall holistic picture, it really just means that what I'm doing from a diet perspective is leaving me with more fatty deposits around my core than I'm eliminating via exercise or whatever else. So even though my core is stronger than it has been, I'm obviously not doing enough to keep my body from producing additional fat stores throughout my central body. And it's not necessarily that it's adding inches or anything. It's just that that's where it's going to store the tissue first. And this just also kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that men in general tend to store more fat around the core. It's part of what increases risk for a whole range of things, including, heart disease and diabetes and everything else. What's fascinating to me is when I started this journey, I dropped a couple of inches waist-wise, and that has stayed consistent even with this increase in body fat percentage around the core. And so what I think is happening, and I haven't confirmed necessarily yet, is I think my back, so lower back, upper back, those muscles aren't getting worked as much as they were getting worked a year-ish ago when I was really targeting the core, as opposed to kind of more functional movements that I've been doing over the past year. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Whereas my abs, the frontal core, they've been worked to death. There's not a week that goes by that there's not a soreness in either kind of the central lower abs or my obliques. I know I am consistently working those. And so I need to be more intentional about making it a well-rounded practice around my core and not just focused on those frontal abs, which makes a lot of sense because I made a transition from a lot of full-body yoga practices and multiple movement, functional kind of strength training workouts to rowing for cardio and jiu-jitsu overall for what I would call functional strength. And it hasn't been targeted like it was prior. And so I'm seeing a change in body composition as a result where my arms, my chest, my shoulders, those are getting a hell of a workout. And my legs,
nice,
quads,
nice.
Hamstrings, etc. But my back is not. And so part of what I've been doing over the past few weeks is trying to incorporate a consistent reintroduction of yoga on a daily basis if possible, and at worst case, every other day. So where I had kind of moved yoga to like a rest day type of routine, that has now been brought back into the forefront as no, this needs to be a core functional piece of my day-to-day practice.
Yeah. So right before I asked that question, and I feel like this leads into it well, but you were about to talk about how clothes were fitting.
Yeah. So what I realized I forgot to complete that thought. Interestingly enough, my waist has maintained that smaller range. So I went from wearing a consistent size 32, and actually that's me trying not to admit that I actually had to move to a size 34 for a bit. So I went technically from a 34 down to a 30. as far as the waist is concerned. And that's been consistent. Nothing in the clothing that I've replaced has felt tight or like I suddenly need to go back to a larger size. With an interesting exception, which is in some of the jeans that I had replaced, my thighs are now tighter than they were before. So the waist is still fitting in the 30, no problem whatsoever. But my thighs have obviously expanded a bit from where they were, so that in some jeans, it's like I'm wearing skinny jeans, even though they're supposed to be a straight fit, which is kind of funny. I just find it kind of hilarious.
I've had that problem naturally, just the build of my body, and there was a long time that I was buying like underwear that fit. So we're boxers. I was buying underwear that fit. I had to make sure it fit my thighs, and primarily, and then the waist was, things would fit my waist but not my thighs, and so I had to find the brand that the size that I wore for my waist also fit my thighs.
Yeah, it's this is completely new territory for me.
You like it, right? You like it.
I do. I actually do.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And I like the fact that, I can stretch out my legs and I can see like muscle definition.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is vague with regard to where the different muscles in my legs are. And it makes sense as well. Like, my focus over the past year has been far more on using my lower body and those compound movements, and it's kind of great to see it. But what's funny is I've also seen the same kind of thing in the shirts. So I went from wearing a consistent large to pretty much everything I have being a medium, because I just, everything else felt way too baggy. But now, very similar to the thigh issue, my arms will feel tight in the sleeves, whereas the rest of the shirt feels comfortable, like it fits the way it's supposed to, right? Now, I realize that if you get a properly fitted T-shirt, that's how it's supposed to fit.
Yep.
I've just never had that fit. And so a large part of it is just me saying, okay, I finally understand how a T-shirt is supposed to fit, and I just kind of have to get used to and adapt to that. But I'm so used to decades of the sleeve has to be a little loose. Like there's room. I can fit my hand between the sleeve and my arm, and with the current T-shirts, I cannot. Like you can see my bicep whether I want you to or not, and that's it's a fun place to be for sure.
Yes, for sure.
But it's also just strikingly different territory to what I'm used to.
Oh yeah, I mean it's interesting to see. It's like you've spent, like you said, a few decades like this is how life is, and now it's like this is not how life is. Life is this way now, and that's if you were there in your younger years, you might not have noticed it because it's like this is how it's always been.
And so here's an interesting thing, because I was thinking about this not too long ago. Back in my late 20s, when I decided to pursue a stint with a boxing club just to kind of see what it was about, I had trouble maintaining 172 weight, which is what I was supposed to maintain if I were to choose to compete. Now, I was not planning to be a competitor, but I still wanted to have that mindset and approach so that I understood it. So I was trying to maintain 172 pounds while doing these workouts. I had to think about what the general attire for the day was like. And I realized the reason I've never experienced this before is because I'm a Gen Xer. We wore fucking extra large.
Oh, yeah.
When we should have been wearing small.
Right.
None of my clothing came close to fitting while I was doing this before. And if I'd actually been wearing the appropriate size, I might have experienced this during that time frame.
No, I absolutely have. I've already had this thought because I was thinking about like how big and baggy clothes were throughout most of the 90s.
Not even 90s. Like everything up until like 2010. So you realize you have to include the 2000s as a part of this range.
They got away from big and baggy sometime in the late 90s.
They might have.
But you didn't.
Not.
You did not. So I can remember. So here's the thing. This was when I was in high school. So I graduated in 99. So I'm very close. You were 97, right?
Correct.
You remember Jinkos, right?
Yes.
Those were very popular, very expensive. Well, at least, in my head, they were expensive because I think they were like $50 a pair. Now that doesn't seem so expensive, but inflation. I remember because now they would be like over 100, we could do real-time follow-up and be like, oh yeah, that's like over $100 or whatever.
Yeah, but
I expect.
But I have to clarify, it's not really inflation in this regard. It's disposable income, and so access to disposable income actually makes it seem less expensive. Yeah, there's that argument.
There's that too, but inflation as well. Because like if you were going to buy them today, they're going to be well over $100, and I don't buy jeans for over $100. The last time I bought jeans, I bought a pair of Levi's from eBay. I used to, I'd go to the Levi's outlet, but I either go there or I've bought a couple pair from eBay because anyway, I had in the 90s I wanted some because I like that look, and I bought a pair that fit me. They weren't Jinko. They were a JCPenney brand called Zonz, Zonz. And I ended up having two pairs. But because my butt was so big and my legs were so big, they didn't look like the big baggy jeans. They just kind of looked more like bell bottoms. So
I can see that.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is,
I also wore a wallet chain.
That doesn't. Well, I don't know. I want to immediately say that doesn't surprise me, but it also feels like it kind of does. Like I think it's I think part of that dissonance is the thinking about first meeting you and kind of the mixture of different things that you projected that I don't know that I have a good way to describe it. Okay.
Did I have long hair when I first started working there?
Longer, yes.
Okay.
It was certainly more Afro-ish without being quite that big. Yes.
Oh, well, it used to be that big.
And so, I think part of it is just that I could have gone either way with how you chose to attire and accessorization, etc. Like, I could see either one, I think, is what I'm really getting at. And so I want to say it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, it could be kind of surprising. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
So fascinatingly, I refused to pay more than a certain amount for jeans until I bought a pair of jeans that was close to that $100 mark. And then something changed. And it was a recognition that one or two pair of jeans or clothing in general, you spend a certain amount on it and you get this thing that is worth the price you paid for longevity and just general functional ruggedness, I guess is a good way to put it. But if it doesn't live up to that, then you're burned on it forever. And I was fortunate enough to buy a pair of jeans that was in that higher bracket. It didn't cross the $100 mark, but it got closer. And I still have those jeans to this day.
Nice.
They still look brand new. There is absolutely no wear and tear on them, even though I wore the hell out of them. And the only reason I don't wear them now is because I have physically changed sizes.
Right.
And so there's an interesting aspect to that. But I also wouldn't buy more than one pair of them at a time. You know, it's not the type of thing that would have a closet full of like 5 pair for multiple days. Like this would be one pair of jeans I would wear for a week at a time and wash it and then wear it again, kind of thing.
I sent you a picture of how I looked through the 90s.
I'll pull it up. Where I was going with that is that my current wardrobe that might have to be like a chapter image.
Yeah.
My current selection of attire, as far as jeans go, consists of a couple of pair of Levi's that I rotate through because they're relatively economical and relatively strong, I guess, capable of withstanding day-to-day abuse. And then I have one pair of what I would call luxury jeans that I purchased for a specific kind of grouping of different things. And then I have a couple of pair of what I would call outdoor activity pants. And so like these I bought specifically for climbing, but they're phenomenal for hiking or anything else. Just strong, lightweight, non-denim kind of pants.
Mm-hmm. I have some like that, so...
Yeah, I actually now I'm trying to figure out, do I buy a pair or two of khakis to have just in case? But I haven't worn like khakis in a couple of years. Like, do I really need to consider that kind of thing? That's a whole different, side tangent. That's not having to go into the office day to day, not having to dress for customer-facing engagements on a regular basis. Do I have something in my wardrobe to meet that, or do I just continue to not have that and not care? And that's completely unrelated to the conversation that we were having, but that's been my recent, do I need to fill in this gap, or do I need to keep letting it ride kind of thing?
I understand. Yeah. No, I so like it's interesting because like the pandemic has actually taken some clothes that were just like maybe marginally too small for me, and because like I have some shirts that I really like that the company that makes them, their largest size is extra large, and at the time that I bought them, it's like there might be a few days out of the month where it's like, oh, that might be a little too tight for you. But most of the time, it was fine. And post-pandemic, I'm like, I can't wear them right now. And so one of my goals is to get back into them and actually have them fit better than ever. So that's a goal I have. And I have this other goal that I think is actually fun because I went on a hike with my kids over the week that I had them, between Christmas and New Year. And there were some trails that I went on that I'd been on before, and they were kicking my butt in a way that they hadn't done before. And so that's a problem for me. And so I have a goal, and I've meant to do this a few times, but now I'm like, definitely I'm going to do this year, and that is I want to hike all of the trails at Red Mountain Park and Ruffner Mountain.
How many trails are there between the two? Like, it sounds like you have this information handy, and you probably don't. But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Red Mountain Park has 17 trails. Some of them maybe kind of like lollipops, but there's basically a way to, like, I'll like figure out what is the best way to what is the best way to hit the trail. And like there's like I could look at the map and be like, okay, I'll do this trail and that trail and that trail today, and actually knock out a few trails in a day. And the idea here is that how I'm counting this is I want to walk the trail from one end to the other. Now, I don't have to walk it back. I mean, obviously some of them are in and outs, and I will have to walk it back regardless. But for it to count for the goal that I have is to walk the entire length of the trail at one point in one time. And I've done one or two, so I want to do every trail at both of those. But Red Mountain has 17 different trails. I don't have the mileage on it. I'll put that in for follow up. And Ruffner Mountain has fewer trails. They have like half a dozen trails or so.
Well, and I was going to actually follow up my question with what may be more applicable is what kind of mileage are you talking about per hike or per session? Because that might be something that I would be willing to or want to either tag along with or maybe join for some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the sake of hiking some of these trails. Because like I've been on Ruffner and I've hiked a couple of trails, but I've never actually taken the time to look at what trails are available and try to map any of that out. It's just I went with someone who had a specific path in mind, and I followed them and enjoyed it and called it a day. And same thing in general for pretty much anything else in the area. And those are the kinds of things that are very easy to add to what I already do. It's not like it costs me anything. But what I've noticed is that now that I've changed what type of shoe I'm wearing with the custom orthotic and adding walking back into my routine is where the ankle seems to be improving more than it was before. And I don't know how much of that is just a change in the shoe and the general support around the orthotic, et cetera, that provides, as opposed to the biomechanics of how the foot falls with that particular shoe as well. Or if more of it has to do with the reintroduction and emphasis on yoga and a more regular practice as well. But either way, both of those are things that I've increased over the past month. And over the past month, I've seen more positive improvement with the ankle than I've seen over the previous few months. And so I want to continue that. And if it means hiking is a good way to do so, great. I'm completely on board. And even if it's not, it's a good, fun diversion from what I've been doing for a while.
Yeah. So I did a quick look, and there are, it's 15.79 miles at Red Mountain, and then still doing the math for for Ruffner, but yeah, it's about the same. And Ruffner has 15 trails, but it's like I routed it. I was looking at at one point I was looking at the map, and I was like looking at, okay, if I wanted to complete these two trails, and they're two of the longer trails. I think the longest trail they have is 2.93 miles. And it, if the goal that I've set for myself, if I like want to actually do all of the trails, like if I wanted to do, I looked at one, if it's a 2-mile trail, and then I could hit another one on the way on the route back, and it's 1.9. But to actually get back to the car, it's going to end up being a little over 5 miles of hiking. to do that kind of loop. And so even though some of the trails are like they look shorter, it's going to be longer hiking. So I'm looking at it. You asked me. It depends on the day. So like I love taking my kids, and they enjoy going, and it's a good thing for kids. So but like hiking with them is going to be a little bit different. I can accomplish some of these smaller trails with them, and actually even some of the bigger trails. But I don't think they're going to want to hike for 5 miles. So I might do doing the bigger days on weekends that they're not with me, and then doing like something that's more kid friendly. And here's the thing about kids and hiking, and I'm sure you know this. It's they're not tired when they say they're tired. They're bored or hungry and bored.
Yeah, for sure. Just as you were talking about it, it's funny. When I decide to walk once or twice a week, I do laps around the neighborhood, and it's 4.2 miles.
Nice.
And I do that in about an hour, a little under an hour. And that's not drastic changes in elevation, but it's not flat either.
Right.
And so thinking about what that really means, like when I walk with my son, it's one of those laps, which is about 1.2 miles, a little under technically, but at the end of it, it's not that he's tired, and it's not that he's necessarily wanting to do something different. It's that, all right, he's seen it, he's done it, he doesn't want to do it again.
Right. They're bored.
Right.
Because as soon as they're not bored, they're running.
Yeah.
As soon as something has interested them, they start running.
Yeah, when we have him, when we allow him the freedom to like run 2 or 3 mailboxes ahead and then wait, like he'll just take off and keep going. And it's a game. It's how long or how quick can he get to a spot where he can sit and wait on us, and then keep going from there. And if we do that, he is down for 2, 3, sometimes even 3.5 miles without a problem. It's just that if it doesn't feel like a game, he's done after a mile.
Yep. I totally. With my older son, I've been able to give him a point of pride for sometimes going on hikes, and that is because at one point, I remember one time when he was 2.5 years old, I took him on a walk with his cousins who are all older than him, and on that walk, he walked the whole way as a 2.5-year-old. I didn't carry him. It was a neighborhood walk. He walked the whole way, and he, 2.5, he's loving it outside, interested in everything. And he didn't complain at all. And all of his cousins at one point or another had complaints about how far it was, how tired they were. They were actually bored, and so on. And I tell him that story, and now it's like sometimes where he'll think twice about saying that he's bored. Or rather, he'll say, not bored. They never say they're bored. He'll think twice about saying that he's tired.
Yeah, I maybe need to try that with mine, because I know around 2, we went to the Space and Rocket Center, and he walked the entire time. Easily 3 miles by the time we were done, like just walking around to different exhibits and from one building to another and everything else. Never complained, was just enthralled by the entire experience. And then, of course, we've been back a few times over the years. And the most recent time, I wouldn't say there was more grumbling, because he was still enjoying the experience, wanting to go see things, but there was more of a question of how much further he had to go. And it's not like the distances between buildings has changed. If anything, we're walking less than we've walked before, because we're not taking all the little nooks and crannies and that kind of thing.
That the 2-year-old's like.
Yeah, for the 2-year-old, everything was new. And for the now 7-year-old, it's like, I've seen this. Like, come on, I want to do something different. It is funny overall.
No, I totally understand. It is definitely a thing. Um, the yeah, so those are the goals I have, and it's so like eat healthier, exercise more. You could fit it into that. That's the TLDR.
So I have one other that I actually don't know that I've shared this with you before. So this could be a fun kind of revelation kind of thing. Tomorrow, as we record, so that would be Wednesday the 5th? Fourth. I'm going to do a Krav Maga trial class at a gym over here that opened up less than a mile from the house. And it's really one of those things where I just kind of am interested and want to see whether it's going to maintain or pique my interest with a trial class and go from there. And if so, then I have to make some decisions on how I split my time across a bunch of different, interests, because I've already made the decision that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is something that I know I want to continue. And if this also piques my interest, I've have some financial decisions to make about whether I can afford to, and two, have to decide what that means for splitting my time across multiple martial arts disciplines and trying to reintroduce and reemphasize some level of climbing into the mix. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next week or so unfolds.
So I got a question.
Sure.
How's Krav Maga spelled?
So Krav Maga is KRAV space MAGA.
And that's that's the Israeli martial art, correct?
Correct. It is completely designed for use by Israeli military and law enforcement to end an encounter as quickly as possible and escape said encounter.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been billed as a very functional form of self-defense for a long time. I just kind of want to see what it's like.
It looks cool.
What I'm hoping overall is that I will be interested enough to study it and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in tandem, and that Krav Maga will assist with my standing to ground kind of self-defense package. So if I'm involved in an altercation that starts standing, as most do, and transitions to the ground, that Krav Maga will kind of guide that, and then let Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of take over, where I control the encounter on the ground without a problem. That's overly simplistic. Like there's a lot more at play there, but that kind of illustrates how I'm hoping the two will play off of each other. The class that I have tomorrow evening is a private one-on-one instruction as a trial class, so that I get an idea of what it's like. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that helps me decide whether it's really going to add anything to my standing game, or if my prior experience with Taekwondo and boxing kind of cover the gamut of what I would expect to have from a standing self-defense curriculum. Because at the end of the day, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is going to take over once you hit the ground.
Right.
And I already know that I want to continue that because I have fun with, aggressive cuddling. That's just it's a fun sport. And I have no reason to think that Krav Maga is going to be focused on anything other than quickly ending an encounter and getting away. And so I think most of where that would provide any benefit is going to be prior to the fight going to the ground. And I don't know enough about it to know kind of if what I expect is accurate or not. And that's part of what I'm hoping to determine tomorrow.
Well, that's very cool. I think it's really cool that it's there's a place you can go to learn Krav Maga. I used to say it wrong. I'd heard it a few times, but I definitely I wanted to say who's Krav Maga.
So I used to say Krav Maga. Krav, I mean, it makes sense, right? You look at it's Krav with an American pronunciation, Krav. When I called them and was talking to them and scheduling the trial, they kept saying Krav. So I know Krav is a correct pronunciation for the first part. They never actually said anything other than Krav on the phone. So I don't know if Krav Maga or Maga or what the secondary portion is.
I think it's Krav Maga. Based on, I'd heard it before in. I can think of at least one television show that I heard it, and I never saw it spelled until today, and so I knew the Krav was spelled that just based on what it was, because I want to say he in the show it might have called it Israeli Jiu-Jitsu, which is a funny thing, but
well, I mean, it certainly makes sense. So one of the things that I like about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that it's different from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, which is the origin of the art. Let's just do a quick lesson, because why not? We have time. So Japanese Jiu-Jitsu was the original art form. There was a particular master / instructor that taught a class in Brazil. Helio Gracie was a student who embodied and decided to pursue Japanese Jiu-Jitsu predominantly because he was a smaller individual and saw the benefits for practical application with regard to self-defense. And so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was born from the basically pilfering of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu without a filter. And so what I mean by that is that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu looked at Japanese Jiu-Jitsu as a source of inspiration, but it didn't stop there. It included judo or aikido or kenpo. Basically, if a technique proved effective, it was incorporated into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Whereas there were apparently, and this is semi-anecdotal, apparently certain things that were deemed either unworthy or ineffective or shouldn't be done for whatever reason within the realm of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, which is how the two started to diverge. Krav Maga, if you look at the history of how it was developed, was looking at judo, jiu-jitsu, kenpo, aikido, etc., and saying, what is an effective way to very quickly and efficiently stop an attacker or an altercation without regard for any rules or structure? So if it's an eye gouge, it's an eye gouge. If it's a kick to the groin, it's a kick to the groin. It's more of a recognition of what do I need to do to immediately stop this person from attacking or otherwise controlling me. And prior to that distinction, if you think about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a comparison, it's how do I, as a smaller person, control an altercation with a larger person? And in the way those are described, you can already pick up on some differences. It's more about I'm going to continue my engagement and continue to control my opponent with regards to jiu-jitsu And in Krav Maga, it's, I'm going to do what I need to do to make my opponent let go, and I'm going to get the fuck out of there kind of thing, right? And so I find that to be highly intriguing to view the different styles in that type of scenario. And I'm just curious how it's going to play out at this point. And that's the quick history lesson.
We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.